The South Sydney Rabbitohs sit at the bottom of the NRL ladder and they face a wooden spoon in 2025. So let's start a new series based on Rugby League 26. Welcome to the first episode of Rebuilding the South Sydney Rabbitohs, where we are going to become the coach, recruit players, make decisions, and hopefully satisfy our fans for a promising future. So let's get straight into it. Welcome to the first edition of Career Mode, Coach Edition for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. So let's select the South Sydney Rabbitohs out of all these NRL teams because of the Rabbitohs' position on the ladder. Who knows, if they beat the Titans, they might be off the bottom of the ladder. Other options here, we were scrolling around. But ultimately, we thought about the Knights as well. Could we rebuild the Knights? But no, we're going to go with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, we're going to choose to make finals. We're not going to go for a star player or a premiership, but we're going to see if we can get this team into the finals. So head coach, we're going to go 3 stars. Assistant coach, 2 stars. Defense coach, 3. And attacking coaches, 3 as well. Moving on to head of recruitment, where we're going to take 3 stars. Domestic scouts, 2. 4 and 2. We're going to go 3 actually for domestic. Moving on to high performance director, we're going to go 4 stars there. Big performances from the director. All right, we changed to 3. Same with strength and conditioning and medical staff. Massage therapist, 3. And psychologist, 4. Make sure they're getting the best mental health. Well, sponsorship team, 3. Media team and membership team, 3. And we're going to upgrade those as well. Cost of a 3-game membership is going to come down due to poor performances to $70 for Rabbitohs. And a home game membership is going to come down to about that $235 mark. No, we're going to push it even lower, $180, $196. So we're going to keep that there. Reserved seat membership is coming down slightly. So we're going to have reserved seat membership around that sort of close to $400, $375 mark at the moment. But then I thought we'll put it up a little bit. $390 is what we did settle with, not a bad price for the members. Premium membership was around the $590 mark, and digital membership stayed at $112, with away game membership coming down in price to around that $160. Memorabilia, we're going to keep it as average. We're going to keep it on the mid to high range. Apparel, we're going to bring down low to mid, and trinkets down to low at the moment. Match day activations, we want to be heavily involved as a club, and we're going to put our family days to 3 days or 2 days. We'll go with 3, and open training sessions, we'll go with 3, as well as 2 community outreach program. So let's advance to next event. Rabbitohs sitting in the 8 right now, and recruiting is open. So let's have a look at some of the players that we could potentially recruit. So it took me a while here to realize how to manage this. And then I worked out that you can filter it so that you can change it to NRL, availability, that sort of thing. And at first, I was playing around with individual players search rather than clubs, which we'll get to later. So let's see if Selwyn Cobbo is keen on joining the Bunnies. 320, 2-year deal. And Selwyn says no, he rejects us and re-signs with the Broncos. So disappointing start there. Let's try another Bronco in Shibasaki, Jemmet Shibasaki. Let's see if we can lure him for $340K, 2-year deal. And he also says no. So the Broncos are getting their players back. Unfortunately, we are not able to poach them right now. Now, there's some good names here off contract. I'm going to go with Blake Wilson here from the Bulldogs. We're going to give him 120K. We're going to go 100K for 3 years, and he says no. So, poor form from coaching right now. We're going to look into it even further. And we're going to go with Zach Labut from the Cowboys, currently on 150. Change it to 130 for 3 years, and we have missed out on the signing. So that is 4 in a row who have said no, and that is extremely disappointing. But we're not going to give up just yet, and we're going to look at Reece Robson from the Cowboys on big money. Reece Robson, we are offering 820 for 2 years, and Reece decides to continue the rejection as well. So no recruitment as of yet. Fan satisfaction at 65. We think about Sione Fainu, but we actually go with Dylan Egan as an option there. Cody Ramsey, let's see what Cody Ramsey says. Obviously been out of the NRL for a while. Let's give him 2 years, and he decides to re-sign with the Dragons. So this is just going from bad to worse right now. We are trying to recruit for the Rabbitohs here, and no one is wanting to come to a struggling club. Let's try Dylan Egan, a young gun with lots of promise at the Dragons. Let's give him 140K for 3 years. And we've got a signing. We've finally done it. Dylan Egan is joining the South Sydney Rabbitohs. What do you think of the contract there? Dragons fans, are you upset to see Dylan Egan depart and join Entertain House's Rabbitohs rebuild? Let's try a marquee man here. Dylan Brown off to Newcastle. Let's see what happens here if we offer him 2 years, 3 years at 440K. Let's see what happens when we do that. And Dylan says no and re-signs with the Eels. So this is not realistic because Dylan Brown is obviously signed with the Newcastle Knights. But we did try to get a number 6 there in Dylan Brown, replacing Cody Walker. Let's try another Dylan, and let's try Dylan Walker. Bit of a pay cut, 3. We went with 400K for 2 years, and Dylan said no. So he's staying with the Eels. Both Dylans have denied the request that we have put in. Let's try Tom Duffy from the Cowboys. And Tom Duffy, we're going to go with 2 years or 3 years. 2 years. And Tom Duffy loves the direction that the Rabbitohs are heading in. So Tom Duffy has put pen to paper and will be joining the South Sydney Rabbitohs in the future, potentially in the halves. Now we look at the Knights' names here and we move into the Panthers, and we see a name here that we like, and it's Preston Ricky on the recruitment. So Preston Ricky, and we're looking at Preston Ricky for 3 years, being young. And he says yes, he believes that this is a good decision for him. So Preston Ricky coming over to the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And we're starting to cook just a little bit now. And let's cook even more. We look at the Knights again. We look at the Panthers. And we look at a name and we see, we haven't gone to it yet, but I remember there was a name that I went to. We've got Jamie Humphries here, and I pushed the wrong button. Jamie Humphries, can we re-sign him at the Rabbitohs on a 3-year deal? Yes, we can. Jamie loves the Rabbitohs, and he decides to stick with it. Now, Reece Walsh here we have a look at, and we remember that we can change it to belongs to club and availability. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through clubs individually this time. Here, obviously, we had available yes and no. So what we needed to do was filter it a little bit more, even though I did have Xavier Willison, unfortunately, on my list. So we've got him on the watch list. I don't even know how the watch list works that much. So here we go. We're going to see if we can change it to belongs to NRL, available, and we're going to go through each club now and see who we can recruit over to the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And we're looking through the Broncos names and we don't see anything we like. So we go to the Bulldogs here and we look through, and you know what? We're gonna have a look here at some of the young guns, but then we actually look for 24-year-old Curtis Morin. And we click on Curtis Morin and we're going to see if we can offer him 140 for 2 years. We're going to go 3 years actually for Curtis Morin. And Curtis is happy to come over to the Bunnies. So another great signing there, Curtis Morin. Let's look through the Cowboys. Jake Clifford there. Semi Valame. Jamal Shibasaki, but nothing interesting. The coach right now. Lots of Dragons off contract. We've got Dylan Egan. So we look at Viliami Fafita. And Viliami Fafita, we're going to give 110 for 3 years. We'll go to 120. And he decides to sign with the Rabbitohs. So that was really disappointing. We thought we had a good deal there, had something going, but at that point it was like, nah, I don't want any Dragons. So we look at the Eels, and you've got Joey Lussick, you've got Jake Tungo, Hayes Dunster. There isn't too much available at Parramatta, and so we're going to change it to the Newcastle Knights. Now for the Knights, there was Jaden Brayley, Jackson Hastings, Jake Arthur, and Jack Hetherington. He's definitely starting to age. I still think he'd be a nice signing. But we change it to Panthers, and we look at Brad Snyder. We looked at the name before, and we look at Brad Snyder as a backup or a starter for a 2-year deal. And he signs. Brad Snyder, he's happy to come to the Rabbitohs. So pretty happy with that signing overall. Let's have a quick look here at the Rabbitohs, and we do want to lock up a couple of the Rabbitohs. We want AJ to stay, and we want AJ at 270 for 2 years. And AJ says the Warriors are interested, so that was really disappointing. And we're going to look elsewhere for wingers, it looks like, because we would have wanted AJ to take a bit of a pay cut there. Keon Kolamatangi, we would love to see you re-sign. 480 for a 3-year deal. And Keon is happy to take that offer. And that's what Alex Johnston should have done. So thank you very much to Keon for staying a part of this team. And I'm looking through and I can't really see. I thought about Liam DeBlanc for the future. Can't really see anyone yet that I do just want to lock up completely. There are a lot of aging sort of players as well there. So let's change this again. And what club were we up to? We were up to the Raiders. Now you got Tom Starling. And we've got the Roosters. Makatoa, Makahesi, Ethan King. Do we get any of these players? Do we get Zach Docker-Clay? Nah, we avoid it. So we look at Manly, and DCE is available, but definitely getting old. Dean Madison as well. Aaron Schopp, a couple of options. But we see Tommy Talau at the top, and we thought about AJ not re-signing. So let's see if Tommy Talau wants to join the new look Rabbitohs on a 2-year deal. And he does. And I'm stoked to have Tommy Talau, who can play centre or wing, join my new look club. We move on to the Cronulla Sharks here. And who do we want from the Sharks? Do we go big and see if we can get Will Kennedy or Sam Stonestreet? Let's try Niwai Peru. And Niwai Peru, we will give you 140 for 3 years. Decent deal for you. And he says no. He decides to stay loyal with the Sharks. So we do go all in with a couple of options here. And we go back and hit the wrong button because that's just what I do on this game, as you've seen. So we go back to the Storm now. You got Grant Anderson, Dean Iramia, Marion Seve, a couple of options there. But there is a name that sort of stands out to me for the future. So I am going to see if we can offer Kane Bradley a deal. A 2-year deal for Kane Bradley. We'll go with 3 actually because he's young and he's happy to accept the contract. So really happy with this, considering that I put these settings on it'd be harder to get players, and players are actually coming across, is quite promising. We look at the Tigers and we don't really see much that we like, unfortunately, there. Let's try the Gold Coast Titans, where we find Kieran Foran off contract, Tony Francis, Jacob Alick is an option as well. But ultimately I decided to go elsewhere. I did have a think a long time about him. So we head over to New Zealand, where Edward Cozzy, who I believe has just signed with the Rabbitohs actually. We didn't chase him though. We thought about Tamare Martin, but ultimately we just moved back to the Dolphins. So for the Dolphins, we had Josh Kerr, Harrison Graham, Felice Kafusi, a couple of options there. And it looks like we're back to the start. So now we move to look for a second rower. And let's have a look who we can potentially get for the second row. Do we go for Raymond Faitala Mariner? No, we don't. Who do we see here? Ethan Bullymore from the Sea Eagles. Can we get Ethan Bullymore for the right price? $310, 3-year deal. And Ethan is happy to come over, so really happy with that signing. So let's take a look in this video who we have signed. So we have signed Dylan Egan from the Dragons. We have signed Tom Duffy from the Cowboys as well. We've picked up a prop in Preston Ricky from the Penrith Panthers. Nice one there. Josh Papali'i, massive signing there from the Canberra Raiders. And then we've got Adam Dewey from the West Tigers. Awesome signing. Curtis Morin from the Bulldogs. 5'8", Brad Snyder. Winger, Tommy Talau from the Sea Eagles. Kane Bradley from the Storm. And most recently, Ethan Bullymore from Manly. So some nice recruitment there. But our unsuccessful offers, Selwyn Cobbo was not interested. Neither was Jemmet Shibasaki. Blake Wilson from the Bulldogs, also not too keen to make the trip. And Zach Laybutt from the Cowboys rejecting us, as well as Cowboys player Reece Robson. So a couple of Cowboy unlucky. Cody Ramsey from the Dragons. Dylan Brown from the Eels, disappointing there. We would have liked that one. Dylan Walker from the Eels as well. So both Dylans rejecting us. Viliami Fafita from the Dragons. They just don't like us, the Dragons. And Niwai Peru from the Cronulla Sharks as well. So that is going to bring an end. That is the current South Sydney team. But that's going to bring an end to episode 1, part 1 of the video, which is based on our recruitment. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe and look out for part 2.